This has nothing to do with, too many stars and all that. Sometimes things fit and sometimes things don't. And I think you can do one of two things in your life. You can bang your head against the wall when something's not working and just keep banging your head against the wall to make it work. Or you can say, you know what? I have to take a look at where I'm at and let me go see if there's a place that might be a much better fit for me where I can get back to having great joy and do what I love to do and be the best version of myself. And that's ultimately what this came down to.
That's Mark Bartelstein, the agent for Bradley Beal on NBA radio on Sirius XM, talking about Bradley Beal leaving the Suns to refine his joy. He's going to end up with the LA Clippers here to talk about that. And Suns offseason, the man, the myth, the legend, back from Vegas, Kellan Olson joining us in studio. KO, how's it going, man?
What's up, man? Wow, that guy's doing quite the media tour, huh? Where's he going to be next? Is he going to be on the Colbert farewell? What's going on?
It really is. I mean, the quote in the Brian Windhorst article about Brad wants to be in playoff games and play in big games, that got a reaction. There was this yesterday. There was the Matt Ishbia thing. What did you make of all the reaction, especially to Bradley Beal's social media post with the chiming in from a lot of NBA players, including Kevin Durant?
Yeah, it was a 2 years to forget from Brad's perspective, to say the least. I can't speak to his entire experience dealing with the fan base, but we know the story of like him and his family dealing with some fans that one game. So that was obviously an incredibly negative experience for him. And then obviously he had been the target of the most of anyone on the team the last 2 years on social media as well. So for him to, instead of go with a heartfelt goodbye and all that kind of stuff, just throw up the deuces on the way out, I somewhat understand where he's coming from. At the same time, you kind of know exactly what you're doing. You're embracing the troll aspect of it.
Sure.
At that point, and a lot of people found it funny across the league.
Yeah, and it's one thing for Bradley Beal to do it, Kellen, but for Kevin Durant then to weigh in with the laughing emoji and then now going back and forth at it with fans and media members. What did you make of Durant's response? And Damian Lee responded as well with a laughing emoji.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think too much into it at all, guys. I thought it was just them being entertained by what Brad did, and that was it. I didn't read it as some big looking down point on the organization. Damian Lee and Ish Wainwright both had to tweet later on about how I was just laughing at Brad's joke. I didn't mean to besmirch the Suns organization with the use of an emoji. At the same time, when you're only communicating with emojis, you're purposefully leaving things open to interpretation sometimes.
Yes, very good point.
There's the double-sided sword of that. You know what I'm stoked about, guys? Not to talk about emojis anymore, not to talk about franchises and organizations. I'm ready to talk about basketball, and thank goodness that that part of that element is going to be gone, and hopefully Jalen Green or Mark Williams doesn't do anything that irks this type of or inspires this type of conversation, because I am so ready to be done with this era of Suns basketball.
Yeah, I am with you, and I think that was kind of an exhale among the fan base when the Beal thing got wrapped up. So let's talk about basketball and what might be next. I mean, Gambo's been reporting for a while now that once the Beal situation did get taken care of, and it has been, that they will be adding something. We've heard the rumblings about Jonathan Kuminga. Whether or not that's possible remains to be seen. But what makes sense for a Suns acquisition at this point? Next, Kellen.
They really need to rebalance out their roster. They made two trades. Their two biggest trades were the Kevin Durant trade, the Mark Williams trade. Those were two trades that then required them to make more trades because it made their roster even more imbalanced. There are elements of each trade to like, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it sets you up in a position where you have to make more trades now to balance out your roster, because I think this Suns roster is actually quite talented. Like, if you put it all together, the talent that it has the talent of a 35 to 40 win team, but practically none of it blends together. Just about none of it blends together into the type of basketball team that could win that many games. And I don't think it has to do with a win total as much as it does the development of those young players. Like, you need to set up Jalen Green, Mark Williams, Kaman Malawach, Rasheer Fleming, Kobe Bray, whoever else you want to include, Ryan Dunn, Sugadaro. You have to set them up for success in order to develop properly, and you need to put them in a situation where things fit together. If things fit together well and it's the talent of a 25-win team, that's a lot better than things that don't fit together on a 36-win team like we saw last year. So you need everything to sort of blend together. And the hope, I think, for them would be that with this newfound flexibility that they got from the Beal wave and stretch, that they're able to rebalance out their roster a little bit. I think that the timing was rough for them. I expected this when we were talking about it a couple months ago. I was wondering if it was going to happen in May. I was wondering if it was going to happen in June. I did not have the third week of July down, and that turned out to be just a consequence of doing it, I guess, or like a reality of having to do it that way. But they have more work to do, and if they go into training camp with this roster looking this way, it just adds a lot of questions as to how everything is going to fit together, and that's the last thing you need after we spent 2 straight years talking about how does everything fit together.
You and Bernsey had a really good conversation about this topic a couple of days ago. I'm going to have you revisit it real quickly. It was about balancing the development of the players you just mentioned, whether it's Malawach, Ryan Dunn, Oso, Jalen Green, Kobe Brea, as opposed to also maybe giving yourself the best chance to win a basketball game each and every night, and how Jordan Ott and the organization is going to balance that in terms of getting guys experience over guys that may, in the immediate, give you a better chance to win. Your thoughts on that and that dynamic setting up this year?
Yeah, the reality is, Tim, the Suns don't like the word rebuild. Guess what? You're rebuilding. Rebuild, 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 rebuild. Get used to the word. You're rebuilding. That's what you're doing right now. And they have to come to a realization that that's the position that they're in, because we remember all of the reports that came in. It was from so many different places. So you get reports and sourcing from so many different areas and so many different parts of the country that it's like undeniable that everyone reporting that the Suns like wanted to turn around this Kevin Durant trade and like try and win games. So we know the motivation for them was to win next year. Okay, like win 35 games, win 37. Is there really a difference between 37 and 28 or 37 and 24? Like I don't really understand the motivation there. And you look at like the Mark Williams trade as one specifically where I think they're trying to play both lanes. I think they're trying to make a move for a player that they feel is really good right now and they can get even better. And instead, it's like, okay, but you acquired him at a position where, and there's so many questions with Mark Williams as well, where I just think that they're trying to play two lanes. And we've watched the most successful organizations with loads of cap room, with loads of flexibility, with tons of stuff to trade, try to do the two lanes at once thing and it not work. The Suns are not in a position to try that anyway. They have to accept their fate. They have to accept that at least for this year alone, you are in a rebuild. You're going to win less than 30 games. It's totally fine. Develop your young talent. See where you're at next summer. That's when you can start to use your flexibility. You'll have more money, things like that. But they just need to accept where they're at right now. And that doesn't really have to do with a Kuminga trade or anything like that. It's just you have to understand that you're in a rebuild right now and that's okay. I think the fan base is okay with that.
Yeah. Real quick before we let you go, we know you were up in Vegas for Summer League for a couple of the games. And if you watch them in total, it can be a tough watch in Summer League. But when you look for individual things, what did you find most encouraging from what you saw from the Suns in the Summer League?
Thought the rookies were encouraging, but I was the most encouraged by the year two guys. I think Ryan and Oso clearly took the points of improvement and the maybe not weaknesses in their game, but what they had to improve on the next couple of years from their rookie year, their debriefs or whatever, and clearly worked on it for the last 3 months and are going to continue to this summer. Both of them were incredibly aggressive about getting to the basket, and I think that those are two guys specifically, again, when we go to the conversation we were just talking about, Ryan Dunn needs to play 30 minutes a game next year. Oso needs to be in the rotation. Would I like him to be at the 5 instead of the 4? Yes, but if he has to play at the 4 in order to get minutes, that's fine. Play him. You need to let these young guys develop, especially the ones that are ready for playing time. If Kellan Olson doesn't play right away because he's not ready and the minutes are just going to hurt him and he's going to be out of place all the time and there's not really going to be anything for him to develop from, that's okay. But you need to have the young guys in a position where they can play and develop.
Kellen, great stuff. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.